Well, to discuss this further, the rise of private prosecution sector, we are joined in studio by political analyst Professor Sipho Siepe, BLF President Andile Mngxitama, and via the phone we have a legal expert, Paul Ngobeni. A very good evening to you all and thank you for joining us.
Good evening.
I think it follows that I start with you. Just talk to us a bit more about this private prosecution, how you came about to the decision to actually start one.
Yes, firstly, I want to thank the black lawyers and advocates who have responded with positive, energy in terms of supporting this call that BLF has made. And also the general black population out there has been saying to us, this is the right move, we've been waiting for it. And it's correct because black people can expect AfriForum to defend them. I mean, I'm thinking of it as a little bit like a chicken running to Nando's to be protected there. It's not going to happen. AfriForum, Freedom and the Law, and so-called civil society is very clear about what interests it represents. AfriForum, for instance, is denying that apartheid was declared or is a crime against humanity. They defend white interests, white landowners. They have said nothing about the serious crimes committed by white monopoly capital and white people. The responsibility of defending black people rests with black people. We cannot expect other people to defend us. AfriForum has got an agenda. I mean, just take the recent case where they opened a case against Julius Malema. Of course, they target prominent black people, whether it's Dr. Grace Mugabe, whether it is former President Zuma or Malema. Recently, they opened a case against Malema on this gun story. But a white man who gives Malema the gun, they say nothing about that person because they're targeting black people and they are fanning black-on-black violence. Where we have conflicts amongst ourselves as black people, they jump in and they widen that wedge so that we continue to fight and forget the fact that the AfriForum represents those that stole our land, our economy, and continue to perpetuate racism. So we're saying as BLF, we're not going to complain. We're going to set our own response, which will defend the interests of black people, and we're going to go against very powerful people, white people, who, and again, we have many cases ourselves as BLF. The NPA will not prosecute. Whether it is Helen Zille with racism, whether it is FW de Klerk, we have open cases. We're talking about cases we've opened here. Whether it is Marcus Joster, the former CEO of Steinhoff, we're talking about 20 billion rand, which was disappeared through corruption. The NPA seemed paralyzed in the face of white corruption. Of course, we know part of it is because in the NPA itself and former NPA senior people, they're also implicated in either criminal activities or protection of white criminals, particularly those we declare white monopoly capital. So we are on a roll, we are going for them, and we are ready. And we are, as I say, very happy to see that black people have come out and said, BLF, this is the right move. And I'm very happy about black lawyers and advocates who have themselves said, we will be there, we'll work with you pro bono. And we're asking on our people to support this project. And who will be leading this unit? I mean, I know that you've mentioned advocates who will be working pro bono. Is there a name of someone who will be in charge of the unit? Yes, there will be. In fact, in 2 weeks' time, we'll be launching the whole outfit. It is registered. They're setting up the banking system and all that goes with it, so that when the office is opened, and you will announce the names of the people who are going to run it. But we're going to rely on a panel of black lawyers and advocates so that they come out and they use their expertise to assist us in dealing with these problems. And as I say, the response has been overwhelming. We are very pleased by that. Professor, your reaction to this, I mean, is it better to become the solution that you want to see instead of complaining about what is not being done by the NPA?
Well, I think this is a positive move. I think as black people, we spend more time complaining about what white people do to us. And as a result, we appear helpless. And this culture of powerlessness has to must be brought to an end. And I think what the BLF has actually done is that given that there is silence around private prosecution, one would have thought that there would have been a debate. But when anything is targeting black people in this country, it gets allowed. People are found guilty by suspicion, by accusation, and by association. You just have to be associated with some people, then you know that you are guilty. the media in this country simply, I mean, even the language that is used, even by people like Bishop Tutu and the rest, you often hear them saying something to the effect that somebody must go there to court to prove themselves, when the Constitution suggests the opposite.
Innocent until proven guilty.
Exactly. But instead of complaining, it is very important that there must be a black response. So what you find here is a black response to the existence of racially biased, almost AfriForum and its supporters. And as Anile indicate, you just have to look at the cases that have been brought to the courts by either Freedom Under Law or the ones that the AfriForum want to do. What you will always find that a black person is always a target. So it's important that you also deal with balancing that issue. There are some of us who actually raised the issue of what the Constitution expects. One was that the people must act without fear, as the prosecuting authority, act without fear or favor and prejudice. But what we have seen is a prejudicial posture that had been taken, and it is targeted. But we must also understand this in a whole concept of white supremacy, that we had a constitution that was driven by black, swart gevaar, a fear of black people. So the whole idea was to build it in such a way that you're going to end up with groups like AfriForum, the Freedom Under Laws and all that. And even right now, even as we speak, even when the AfriForum established its litigation unit, you didn't hear the foundations raise the issue that how are you going to make sure that this is not prejudicial and it is going to act in the interest of all people. But I don't think we should even be wasting energy on that. The whites in this, most of the white organizations and the think tanks in this country have always been very clear about what they stand for. It is all about the white interest. And this is a grouping that says we will also retaliate and make sure that the black people are actually defended. And also to make sure that those people who are racist, who are engaged in attacks on black people, are also brought to book. So this is really, for me, the balancing act that has been put forward. But I'm very happy to hear that you have also senior black advocates and lawyers who are saying we're going to throw our weight behind this initiative. But as I say, the issue is it has been called for, it is a response, and I hope that it doesn't end here, that other groupings and black people, black professionals, wherever they are, who are at the moment under attack, whichever way, from the state, from wherever they work, that there could also be think tanks that will support these initiatives. Because as we speak at the moment, every think tank in this country is white. And if you find any that masquerade as black, you'll find that it is actually white in its own thinking. So we do need also groupings that are in the black community, that are black-led, and that will also advance black interest.
Well, let's hear the voice of legal expert Paul Ngobeni. Good evening to you. Your reaction, first of all, to BLF's stance, and if you can explain to us how the Constitution makes provision for private prosecution.
Well, it's both the Constitution and the Criminal Procedure Act. Let me say that under the Criminal Procedure Act, Section 7 thereof, it allows a crime victim to undertake a private prosecution of the responsible person, that is the person who committed a crime against them. When one thing happens, that is when the state, as represented by the NPA, issues a nolle prosequi, that is it says, I decline to prosecute this person. So as a crime victim, you may still feel that, no, this person that the state is refusing to prosecute has a case to answer. And under those circumstances, if you are given that certificate, nolle prosequi, you can actually go after that perpetrator to bring them to book. To that extent, I would say that the the BLF stance and its understanding of what the AfriForum is doing needs to also be looked at a little bit differently, because the question is whether a juristic person such as AfriForum can, in most instances, be a crime victim and can be entitled to a nolle prosequi certificate. The courts have consistently held that a juristic person could not be entitled to that. But the other thing that I want to caution against is this notion that, you see, we just in the process of saying that people are reacting to white supremacy, we also are elevating and giving unnecessary prominence to the likes of AfriForum. AfriForum is not qualified to be a private, even a private prosecutor. The courts have already taken judicial notice of the fact that AfriForum is a political organization that is a racist and is a sexist organization that is contained in a court judgment. AfriForum has taken positions which, as my brother Andile has correctly said, denying that apartheid was a crime against humanity. So when you have an organization that is going to be involved, sometimes claiming to be representing black people, it may be claiming a right, it's a pimping right, but it doesn't in law or in the Constitution have that right, and it will not qualify. Because remember, Section 179 of the Constitution says, in any criminal prosecution, in other words, think of the NPA's constitutional responsibilities, which is to be unbiased, to be without fear, to be without prejudice. When you have an organization that has already been declared by the courts to be biased and prejudiced, how can you then say that organization has a right to criminally prosecute anyone in this country in violation of the Constitution? That cannot be.
Well, I think...
Yes, we are certainly going after AfriForum ourselves. In fact, we've written a letter to them, and we can see they're running away from us because they were supposed to be part of this conversation, as far as we know. AfriForum is afraid to deal with Black First, Land First, because actually at the base of it in South Africa, fundamentally there are two organizations. AfriForum represents the interests of white people, period. Black First, Land First represent the interests of black people, even those who don't know so, and even those who are hostile to Black First, Land First. It's our duty to protect all black people, and that's what we're going to do. But I'm saying we're going after AfriForum, and I accept Mr. Ngubeni's move that, you know, AfriForum might not have the kind of legal standing to raise but there is the reality. What is the reality? The reality is AfriForum has gone after prominent black people and has put them in serious situations. It is true it is AfriForum that instigated the attack on Duduzane Zuma. It is AfriForum that has instigated the attack on, as we said, Dr. Mugabe. It is AfriForum that is going after Julius Malema. And all of these black people that AfriForum goes after, we find them in court. So maybe the law says one thing, but our courts and the NPA itself says something completely different. All we are saying as BLF is, we have similar problems. If AfriForum represents the interests of white people and is going after all these black people, we have opened many cases. And I can tell you now, after we announced yesterday this litigation and private prosecution unit, a lot of other black people have come and said, we also have cases. Our cases have not been taken seriously. And all of them has got to do with prominent white people. As we speak, there's a book that just came out, for instance, which shows that apartheid ministers were abducting and murdering and even raping black boys. Now, no one is going to bring that matter to court if it is not black people. So we are saying as Black First, Land First, we're not going to complain. AfriForum represents the interests of white people. It denies apartheid existed. All other civil society organizations claiming to fight against corruption and so on, represent white interests. Our job as black people is to defend ourselves, and we are here to do exactly that.
You know, there's something that was mentioned earlier on, that the NPA actually has the right to stop private prosecution if they want to prosecute a case themselves. How does that sit with you?
We'll be very happy if they did it. I mean, I'm already saying to you, we have over 10 cases. Some of these cases include billions of rand. Some of them including mass murder. And we have provided evidence. The NPA is not interested. If the NPA was doing its job and it was brave and it was not biased, we would not even be sitting here today and saying, you know, black advocates and lawyers and other people must sacrifice their time and resources to make sure that there's justice in this country. White farmers out there are murdering our people at will. And there's nothing that happens because there's no one who's following up on these matters. But Black First, Land First saying, well, that time of white people doing as they wish because they have the money and they have the protection of you know, civil society is over. We're going after them.
And then another thing is the issue of an agenda being driven by some of these people who have these private prosecution units established. In terms of Black First, Land First, you know, stance, will you not be susceptible to any sort of external influences? Will the funding model perhaps be transparent?
Absolutely. No, we have an agenda ourselves. Let be no confusion. We have a black agenda. And our agenda is very transparent. We are not like AfriForum and other racist organizations that hide behind talking about the law, but in fact, when they have clear racist, illegal agendas, unlawful agendas, harmful agendas, our agenda is a black agenda, and it is here to make sure there's justice. You can't even compare Black First, Land First with AfriForum. AfriForum should not even exist, in fact. I mean, you go to Europe, you go to Germany, they will not allow a Nazi organization to be registered and to openly, operate. Now we hear that there's even a court decision that AfriForum is in fact a racist organization. We have no means in this country. That's the other thing. Yes. Means to deal with racist organizations. It's shocking given the fact that we come from 350 years of systematic oppression by organizations such as AfriForum. We have a black agenda. We are going to pursue it, and it's an agenda of justice.
Professor, in 2 minutes, just to your closing thoughts and also the issue of success of private prosecutions in the country.
Well, I think what BLF has done is to call out on things that are happening and should not be happening. First, as Paul indicates, that you have courts that have actually said that AfriForum is sexist and racist. And the question you need to ask, these are the people who seem to be having free reign. And you need to ask, where are these foundations? Whether it's Nelson Mandela Foundation, whether it's Freedom Under Law, whether it's Helen Suzman Foundation or Ahmad Kathrada, to say, given this reality, this pronouncement by the courts, we would frustrate this sexist and racist organization. They have kept quiet. But what it does show is that their tendency to only be obsessed whenever there is a black person who must be crucified. So we must call them out as well as that. Then there's the issue of the law itself. When the law talks about people having a right to institute a private prosecution, then you must also ask who among the black people has the resources to be able to do that. And you'll find that that law was written understanding fully well that black people are under-resourced, that they don't have, they cannot even afford anything, whether it's land, whether it's cars, whether it's, most of them are unemployed, and those who are working are underpaid. So you could see it is biased towards those who are rich. So the initiative by BLF begins to bring all those issues that we must actually talk about the law itself, talk about the constitution, even to say, can there ever be justice and equal treatment of people in this country? And as things stand, the answer is no. But the black people also have a responsibility to defend themselves rather than to spend time, on the WhatsApp complaining and moaning. There must be action. But as I say, it should not only be limited here. When you talk about the narrative in this country, you'll find that the dominant narrative is white-driven, to protect white interests. And the institutions that we have also inherited are institutions that were established by apartheid, which was found to be a crime against humanity, and we have not transformed them, and we have simply participated. So we have actually compromised even our right to think differently. And this is probably a step to say, black men, you're still on your own. And the BLF is showing that in this area, black people should not be lying down and allowing racists to have a free reign.
Well, Mr. Ngubeni, your closing comments in 1 minute, please.
Initiative. I think BLF needs to be congratulated for thinking about that, but let us not be oblivious of the legal minefields. We need to be careful that we are elevating AfriForum. We are giving it a status it does not deserve. Even the likes of Duduzane Zuma, he has the money, he has the lawyers. Why have they not raised the issues about even AfriForum's status? And Grace Mugabe, yes, I understand what the challenge in there was, but they have not raised the issue. When the time now comes for AfriForum to say they are going to prosecute her, they need to answer the question of whether they even have the locus standi as a racist and a sexist organization, apartheid denialists, to prosecute any South African under our constitution. And the answer will be no. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and thank you to our studio guests as well. The conversation does continue online, so follow us on Twitter. Our handle is @AfroWorldView. That's where we leave it for tonight. My colleague Harold Balam was up next with Prime Business. From myself and the crew behind the scenes, Salang Lesogofetsi.